Welcome. We're doing our second Terrine video today. I'm here again with Justin Ruaysamran, and today we're going to be making chicken and hazelnut terrine, which is only very slightly more healthful than the recipe we made the last time, which was pork and pistachio and apricot. It's a simple recipe, but it does take a fair amount of prep, and in fact enough that you may want to start this a couple days ahead of time, because one of the main ingredients is a really rich chicken stock, and that 8 cups of it that you boil down to a concentrated, flavorful gel almost. That's only 1 cup. So it's really, really flavorful and very, very concentrated. Make your own if you want, and then boil that down. Or you can do as I did, which was to buy store-bought, low-sodium, organic chicken stock and enrich it. And I enriched it by roasting a whole bunch of chicken drumsticks and carrots and celery and onions. And by the way, leave the onion peels, the onion skins on the onions, because it gives a deeper color to the stock. And roast those for a while until they're done, and then add that to the store-bought stock and cook it for about 3 to 4 hours.
You added the bay leaf too, right?
And I also added, yes, thyme, bay leaf,
Oh, wow.
and some peppercorns, and cook that for about 3 to 4 hours. Then, remove the chicken, strain the stock, and you'll have about 8 cups, and you boil that down maybe for about an hour, and what you get is this.
My gosh, that's not that much.
Yeah, and this is a 4-cup measuring cup, and so imagine twice this amount boiled down to just 1 cup. And it takes about an hour to do. It doesn't really take all that long, but the stock, making the stock really does. It's it is a long process, but I think it's worth it because of the flavor. And this is kind of the main flavoring ingredient of the terrine, so that's why it's a very important step.
And Rick, I imagine you could freeze that as well, right?
Oh yeah, you could make extra and it would freeze really well. You could add it. You could even dilute it, and still I think it would give flavor to a soup or a stew or something.
That sounds great.
So it's a relatively easy, if not somewhat time-consuming idea. So the next important ingredient, and the main part of this terrine, is the pork and chicken, and it is the pork fat and ground up chicken. It's light. It's a mix of light and dark meat, and also fresh pork fat, 3/4 pounds each.
Now, how do you go about sourcing pork fat, though? I mean,
Well, you have to go to a butcher and get it, and
Okay.
sometimes I would say a supermarket may not accommodate you.
Yeah.
Though you could always buy a pork belly and and cut off the pork fat that way. Cut off the rind and then use, because there's a good layer of pork fat on it, and that's probably where this came from. And I got it from a butcher who was willing to sell it. So, and it's organic, and chicken's organic too. Some options with the chicken. You can bone a whole chicken, maybe one that's about 3 pounds if you want, or you can just buy boneless breasts and thighs and chop them up coarsely and add them to a food processor with the pork fat. That would be 3/4 pounds each. And you don't want it to be real fine. You want it to be fairly coarse. And that's what we have here. And you can do it yourself, or you can have a butcher do it for you, which makes it a lot easier. Another important ingredient for this is the hazelnuts. And a prep step for those is to toast them and then to rub them to get off the skins, because the skins make it somewhat bitter. You don't have to get all the skins off, but 80% or so.
Now, how long did you roast them again?
I think I roasted them for about 6 minutes in a 350-degree oven. Let them cool a little bit, and then rub them with a towel or your hands. Just to give some textural variation to the terrine, you add about a half pound of cut up boneless chicken breast.
Okay. I'll just start.
Justin's going
I'll
to
just start
do
cutting
that.
while you're cooking.
And then while he's chopping that up, I'm going to take a quarter of this mix and put it in the food processor. And to that, I'm going to add a tablespoon of flour, a teaspoon of ground white pepper, and about a half a teaspoon of salt. You can salt it to taste. 2 eggs. And this makes a paste that will help bind all that together. Paste.
Oh,
So
okay.
then what you want to do is scrape this out into here.
This is the diced chicken?
That's the chicken meat that you diced. And we have the skinned and toasted hazelnuts. That's 4 ounces of those.
It's
And-
amazing you're leaving that whole.
And we have, yeah, it is. It's funny that they're not chopped, but I think it works out. Quarter cup of heavy cream?
No, you did not use heavy cream in the last recipe, right?
No.
That's interesting.
But, well, I think, yeah, it is interesting. This is, well, there are a lot of variations. And then this is that stock, that 1 cup of stock that was boiled down from 8. And now you can mix it together.
And I also noticed you did not add alcohol this time.
No alcohol to this, no brandy.
I was hoping for a little.
You can have it with it.
That's right, that's right.
Now, you can see that it really is quite soupy.
It is very soupy.
After a while, it sort of thickens up a little bit. And,
Yeah, you have the flour in here to thicken it up.
yeah. So now, what you can do is pour it into the mold.
So I'm pouring this
But-
very liquid mix.
Then, you can fold over the bacon with this. Cover it with a layer of aluminum foil.
Now, what's the purpose of that, you think?
I'm not sure. You can,
Because you have this lid now too.
I'm not sure that, usually I don't always use one with a lid. And if I just use a regular loaf pan, I think, that provides a cover.
Yeah.
And, I don't know, as I said, I've forgotten it, and it gets, a nice brown crisp top, which is maybe not that bad. But the recipe says to do this.
Okay.
So, fill that up halfway with boiling water. And then this goes into a 350-degree oven for an hour, maybe an hour 15 or more minutes, up to an hour and a half. What I always do is go by internal temperature, and you want an internal temperature of 165 for the chicken to be cooked. So now this goes into the oven. So after the terrine came out of the oven, I let it cool to almost room temperature, and then put it in the refrigerator overnight, weighted with a brick. The weighting gives it a better texture when you slice it, and that's why you do it. And you don't have to use a brick wrapped in foil as I did, but you could use a big tomato juice can or a couple, peeled tomato cans on top. You just want to weight this down with a couple pounds. If you can.
I know, because
It's a little tricky with that one.
Portion. And then?
And then, yeah, there you go.
Here we go.
Voila.
Wow.
I think you could use it as a first course, or I have always used it as an appetizer. You know, sliced into relatively small pieces. They could even be smaller than this, and sometimes put them out on the cracker or bread for people, so to just take away or to pass. This bacon is from 8 Hands Farm.
Right.
Up in Cutchogue, right?
Right, 8 Hands Farm is in Cutchogue, and they're a meat production. They have heritage sheep, they have pigs, chickens, of course, and they have beautiful farm stand there. So it's right on Cox Lane. And it's one of the properties that the trust had protected before they purchased the land and the farm from us, and, you know, created what they have there, so it's really nice.
Well, yes, I've gotten other meats from them before, and it's always really good quality, and their stand is just amazing. Their
It's
store.
beautiful.
Are there other places, trust properties up there too on the North Fork?
Yeah,
where you can get chicken and meats?
Absolutely, yes. So Browder's Birds is another good farming operation that has meats that you can purchase, and they farm organically as well, and that's a protected farm.
They have a great website too.
Yes, yeah, Browder's Birds, that's another good spot. But there's a variety of local farmers that do have meat production, so it's worth checking that out, because, you know, I think it's a little healthier probably than mass production, so it's really great.
Certainly fits in with the local food movement, that's
Yeah.
for sure. And this is all organically raised too.
Mhm.